Greetings, hello, salam sejahtera. Welcome back to another video. Today I'm gonna show you some life-saving rendering tips that have saved my rendering. Yes, full disclaimer, these tips work for me, but your experience may vary because people have different hands and different brains and different styles, and that's okay. It's beautiful, you're beautiful. Mwah. So without further ado, let's start with number one. What is this intro? I'm so sorry. Let's start with number one. To avoid suffering and self-loathing during rendering, we need to take a preventive measure before we start drawing. What do we do before we start drawing? We wash our hands, yes, but we also need to look for references. Pick references with clear shadows. Black and white pictures typically have better shadows than colored ones. You can also use them for value studies or painting in grayscale. It focuses on the shadow and light harmony, so it will be great rendering practice. Although many grayscale photos have too dark of a shadow, so it's better to practice with statues. Moving on to tip number 2. By the way, I'm drawing Igor from Reverse 1999. Listen, I've never gotten a single Reverse 1999 ads on Instagram until Igor's banner came out. After that, the ads just flood my feed non-stop. Now, why would Instagram think I would be interested in Igor's banner? Is it because I follow Tom Hardy and Bront Palare? Come on, Instagram, stop assuming things about me. However, accurately, yeah, I do play Reverse 1999 now. Anyway, I just applied some soft shadows, but that's not the tip. The next step is the actual tip. Using the lasso tool, we're going to map out the hard edges of the shadow. A few months back, I always skipped this step out of pure laziness. Then I realized that my paintings kinda lost some shape. It's like I overblend the planes of the face so it looks extra smooth. So now I'm doing the lasso thing again to get the hard edges. I'm using the airbrush to apply the color to get a nice gradient instead of a super solid blocky shadow. I'm doing this in multiply so I can use the same color for the skin and clothes. After that, I extend some of the shadows using flat watercolor opaque in lower opacity. Hard edges are great, but how do we map them out? How do we determine which area gets the hard edges and which one gets soft edges? Well, we need to learn about planes. No, not the flying kind. I'm talking about this. This is the Asaro head, and you can use it to simplify the light and shadow into basic shapes. Try to break down the shadows on your reference picture and determine which ones are the dark shadow, which ones are the midtones, the soft lights, the highlights, the whole shebang. I will link this Asaro 3D model by William Nguyen in the description. And guess what? I have made a video dedicated to face planes a while back. Check it out if you want to learn in more detail, and don't worry, it's a public video. Moving on to the next tip. This is something that I tried recently, and oh my god, it is such a game changer. After you're done adding the shadows, make another multiply layer and add darker shadows. That's it. That's the tip. I know it's kinda anticlimactic, but listen. Many beginners struggle with blurriness when painting over the sketch. One way to prevent that is by adding darker colors. Whenever I render, 90% of the time, I have to add darker shadows because my painting started to lose definition. Why not add the darker shadows now, before we paint over the sketch? You know, so we don't have to suffer later. I don't know about you guys, but I'm not a big fan of suffering. My Tom Hardy reference has quite a dramatic shadow, so I added quite a lot of darker colors. If your reference has simpler shadows, focus on adding the dark colors on the facial features, like the eye sockets, the nose. Usually the shadow under the nose is quite dark, depending on the light source, the lips, under the lips, and under the chin. This is just in general though. The shadow placement and intensity would differ based on the light source and angle. Now we're finally painting over the sketch. Yes, I know, this is rendering tips. Why aren't we painting over the sketch from the beginning of the video? Listen, rendering shouldn't be a stressful experience. It should be filled with joy and serenity And to build that experience, we need to have a strong base. If the base is weak, like my country's currency, holy by the way, it will only lead to resentment and self-loathing. And I don't want that for you guys. Anyway, now let's talk about the brush. I'm sure long-time viewers know that I use flat watercolor opaque for everything. The sketch, the shading, the rendering, everything except the base color and line art if I'm drawing a manga page. I like using brushes with faded tips like flat watercolor opaque because it eliminates the use of smudge and blur to blend. They can be good, don't get me wrong, but Ibis Paint smudge and blur is kinda bleh. Set the brush to low opacity, swipe it on the base, take the resulting color, and use that color to blend. It keeps the textures intact and you don't have to switch tools just to blend. The second reason why I like this brush is that it makes painting over the sketch much easier. Someone asked me how to paint over a sketch. Is it just slapping the shadow colors over it or what? Well, yes, actually, no. Well, yes, but not that simple. Okay, hold on, let me explain. If you only use the shadow color to paint over the sketch, your painting can lose definition and ended up blurring. Instead, use the eyedropper tool. We're taking the color between the shadow and the sketch and use that to replace the sketch. Brushes with faded tips are crucial for this method. If the brush is completely solid, we cannot get the color in between. So use whatever brush you like, just make sure they have faded tips. The first time I used Ibis Paint, I loved using the pencil graphite brush, but I've switched to flat watercolor opaque because it gives more texture. By the way, this method mainly works for the facial features and areas with strong shadows. For big and smooth parts like the forehead, just slap the base color or midtones over the sketch. Next tip is something that I learned recently, even more recent than the darker shadow one. There is something called the watercolor edge. I've been doing that unconsciously, and I only realize it now when drawing Igor because he has such strong features. But anyway, let's learn to edge. Hold on, that's weird. I mean watercolor edge. The best explanation for watercolor edge is on Medibank Paint's website. Watercolor edge is a layer effect that can be added to a layer in order to give an outline to your strokes. And this is what it looks like. This mimics the real watercolor painting, where the paint forms darker, hard edges around the color. It's like an outline around the shading. Yeomeren Kan is a popular artist on Xiaohongshu who used this method. Their shading is very pale, but the painting doesn't lose contrast or get blurred because they apply these outlines. They also play around with the outline colors, making it blue or red, and it looks really good and unique. To make watercolor edge, simply use darker color to outline the shadows. You don't have to outline it completely. Blending half of the outline is fine. It might look unnatural if the shadows are fully caged. Ibis Paint actually has a similar effect called wet edge, but it's kinda... You can adjust how thick the outline is, but seriously, just make it your own. It looks much better and it's not that hard. Come on. Usually I added these watercolor edges on the facial features and big areas like the neck shadow. I don't add them to all of my shadows since they're already quite dark, but if your painting style is similar to Yeomeren Kan or heavy on the soft shadows, or you're struggling with blurriness on your painting, you can try this watercolor edge method to all your shadows. The last but not least tip for rendering is... Can we get a drum roll in here? Draw old people! Yes. Okay, listen. Yes, one of the triggers of me saying that is because of Igor. But actually, there's a benefit in drawing old people. Okay, listen to me. Shut up. My painting becomes more realistic when drawing old people. They generally have sharper features, so it's easier to learn face planes. We can learn to paint wrinkles and smile lines, which young people also have, let's be real, just not as much as old people. I'm not telling you to draw super old people like Sir David Attenborough. I mean, obviously, go draw him if you want. I will really support you. I'll be rooting for you. But most of the time, we draw young people with softer features and perfect skin, when in actuality, learning to draw wrinkles and smile lines adds more realism to our drawing. And it helps with drawing facial expressions too. Don't be like me and draw resting bitch face and constipated expressions all the time. Remember this Farca drawing I made some time ago? Damn, it looks so scary. It looks so spooky. I didn't know how to draw the smile lines and the wrinkles around his eyes naturally, hence why he looks so creepy. So yeah, draw old people. Doesn't have to be like really old, like old. Like for example, I think Tom Hardy is old and he's only 48, not even 50. And that is 8. Yeah, I think that is 8 rendering tips that have saved my art. Let me know if you've tried one of these or planning to try one of these, and also let me know your own life-saving rendering tips down in the comments. Write them down. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Farewell.